Hello there.
How are you, sir?
Very well. Good to see you, Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Can you
Um,
see me?
I can hear you and see you perfectly. So real quick, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining another American Express Office Hours. For those of you joining for the first time, we started this program during COVID to try to get as many insights and knowledge out to businesses with more questions than answers as we could. And we hope this session, like all the other ones, will help businesses do more business. My name is Clayton Rubinstahl. I run B2B marketing at American Express. And the gentleman with me needs no introduction. Hall of Famer, Amex Ambassador, Mr. Shaquille O'Neal. You may know him. My son, for instance, knows him as the guy in the Carnival cruise ads, thinks that's the best thing since sliced bread. But today, we're going to get to know the business side of Mr. Shaquille O'Neal. And I want to start just letting everybody get to know you better. So can we just start with like rapid fire questions? That work for
Of
you?
course. Yes, let's do it.
Would you consider peanut butter to be a dairy product?
I would say yes.
It is a dairy product. Okay, good to know. Good to know. What's your favorite quote? I know you're a quote guy.
My favorite quote is probably Albert Einstein quote. A lady was interviewing Albert Einstein one time, and she's like, "Mr. Einstein, I would like you to proofread the letter before I publish it. What's your address?" And Albert Einstein said, "I don't know." And she's like, "What do you mean you don't know? You're the most brilliant man in the world." And Albert Einstein said, "Things you can get access to, you should never memorize."
Oh, that's good. That's good business advice too. And Google really changes the whole game with that, doesn't it?
That is,
Um, who's the funniest player in the NBA?
right now, I have to be LeBron James.
Hmm. Are
By,
you a Mac or PC guy?
oh, I'm a Mac guy all day. I do not know how to work a PC. I used to be a PC guy, but then when Mac came out, I fell in love with the Mac.
If you could go anywhere in the world on vacation right now, where would you go?
Where'd I go right now? I would go to the Maldives. I always see this picture on the Instagram of blue water, little huts on the water, like 30 huts surrounded by the water with nothing else around it. But the problem is they said it's a 24-hour flight. I don't think I want to be on a plane for 24 hours.
Maybe if you flew private or unscheduled, maybe it would be a little faster for you.
If you pay for it, I'll do it.
We'll have to go further upstairs in my building to get that kind of money. What's a show that you got hooked on during COVID? Netflix, Hulu, any show you got binged on?
A show called Blacklist.
Oh, yes.
A guy by the name of Raymond Reddington.
Very good program.
Yeah, I think I watched all 4, 5, 6 seasons in like 4 days, because they had the rules where you couldn't leave. So I would wake up, eat breakfast, work out, handle my business, and then from 3 to like 4 or 5 in the morning, I just watch the Blacklist.
It's a great thing to get hooked on a good show. It's like getting into a good book. And you just talked a little bit about your daily routine. One thing that I'm fascinated by as somebody who only has one job, two kids, a wife, and a couple friends is how do you do everything you do? And just for reference for everybody that doesn't know, uh, Shaquille is into the food business, the fitness business, the tech business, esports. You're commentating on TNT. You do brand ambassador work for us. You are in commercials for, I feel like every commercial break, I'm seeing you in something. How do you organize all that? How do you stay organized?
Well, being a basketball player all my life, you really learn to grasp the team concept. And being that I won a lot of championships, I quickly realized that you can never do anything by yourself. You have to utilize your teammates. So I make sure I surround myself with the best team possible. It's just my job to show up and go to work. I'm not the scheduler. I'm not this. I'm not that. So, there's an acronym that I love, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I just like to take things that are very, very hard and just break them down. And when you have a good team that you trust, that you surround yourself with, anything is possible. On the outside, it may seem like and look like I do a lot, which I do a lot, but I have a beautiful team that makes it very, very easy.
How have you kept your, the team I think the older I get and the more time I'm in business, the more I believe the same thing. The team is what differentiates one company from another, one team from another in sports. How have you kept everybody motivated through this time?
Well, one, I trust them, and two, I never micromanage them, and three, the good thing about having a team is that I always have people that are smarter than me around me. So they know that they're smarter than me. I treat them like they're smarter than me. I respect them like they're smarter than me. And as the leader, I do not know everything. I'm not the last word. We have a team. We have meetings. Like, hey, should I do this for charity? No, I don't think you should do that. You can do that, but still with the COVID restrictions, la, 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 blah, 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 I think we should do it this way. Rather than me saying, I'm going to the square, I'm passing out 1,000 kids to live. Like, okay, you can do that, but a lot of cities are shut down. So I have a team that knows stuff like this, and we're able to just sit down and talk. And when you have a team that you trust and you have people smarter than you, they make you look good. So I don't have yes people working for me. And, that was a quote that I read by General Eisenhower. The greatest leaders are the ones smart enough to hire people smarter than them.
It's a really good quote, and it takes somebody with a lot of confidence to be able to do that. Do you take that all the way to even your most entry level junior employees who are just starting out in the organization? Do they understand that they're in a place where they can question somebody as senior and seasoned as you?
Yes, they are. But again, if I feel like you're not smarter than me, probably won't hire you. So if you're here, if you're working for me, it's because you're way smarter than I am, because you bring value to the team. And when I get double teamed, I can kick it out to you for a wide open jumper, and I know you're going to sink it.
That's a good one. Was there a time when you found so much success on the court? Was there a time when you retired from sports, or even before you retired from sports, and you were in a business situation where you felt like for the first time you were there being judged on your business person acumen, not your celebrity status?
Well, every time I inject myself into a business, I come in both angles. I come in like, yeah, I'm Shaq. I can do this. I can do that. But on the business side, I've always liked to, be on the business side, because business to me is partnerships, relationships. I love having partnerships. I love having, relationships. Just like with, American Express. Even if I wouldn't have a deal with American Express, I've still been in business with American Express since 1992. I'm a card holder since 1992. I can remember being at my house in LA, and a gentleman knocks on my door, and I was like, may I help you? He said, yeah, my name is Ken Chenault. And I'm like, the CEO of American Express, Mr. Chenault? He's like, yeah. He's like, I have a present for you. You've been a proud customer. I've been in LA, and we're handing these out to all the proud customers. I was one of the first ones to have a black card. So,
Ooh.
so it's just, to me, it's just all about relationships, and, just all about paying attention, and, definitely being involved on the, business side.
And meeting people like that is extraordinary. I mean, I had the good fortune of working with Ken and learned so much from him. And when I think about experiences like that, I feel so fortunate. And I saw recently that you became a board member at Papa John's. What's it like being part of that organization in that place, being a board member?
Well, it was a newly constructed board. Before I got there, they've never had any African American board members. But now there's some beautiful women, some Hispanic women. There's a guy from London. It's an extraordinary board. And I realized that when you're on boards like that, you just listen sometimes. Like I don't know everything, but when it's something that I know and it's something that I'm passionate about, I'll say, I think we should do this. And that's a good thing about our board. We got a lot of We have a lot of leaders on our board. We have a lot of energetic people. And, the founder, Jeff Smith, who put the board together, I'm very proud of the board. He said he's a member of a lot of boards, but this right here is the most eccentric and the best board that he's been a part of. Again, I'm not always the smartest guy in the room. I know that. But when it's something I feel I can, give my 2 cents to, I always do that. So, certain issues, especially when they're dealing with the African American communities with Papa John, I felt I could speak on that. And now we're right back where we want to be.
You talked about the diversity of the board, women and Latinx and African American. What do you see either from being in an experience there where you're part of the team, or in your own organization where you're leading the team, where that really pays off in the business results, having a more diverse team?
Yes, because you have the ability to talk about more issues. Papa John's never had to address the women issues before. Now you got 2 or 3 women on the board who could talk about that. They never really, were concerned about the African American issues. Now you have me on the board, and now it's just, a lot of very intelligent people, giving their 2 cents. And the CEO, Rob Lynch, he's just fabulous. He's a team player. He listens to the board. Jeff Smith, chairman of, Star Board. He's a wonderful guy. They all listen. They remind me of similar how I, do my business. They don't they don't portray themselves as the smartest people in the room. They listen. We're a team. We make decisions together. And ever since Jeff Smith created the new board and hired a new CEO, we've been right on track at Papa John's.
And have you seen, whether Papa John's or any of the other businesses that you're in, have you seen any really interesting new ideas during COVID? I feel like it really turned so many businesses upside down. Like I said, that's why we started this. People were like, how do I get into e-commerce? How do I, get out of retail? There were a lot of, big things. Have you seen some pretty smart things or heard some smart things during this time period?
Yeah, we always, especially at Papa John's, we always come up with a lot of new innovative ideas. And look, the drive-through business has been definitely good for us. We just had the, Shaquille pizza. We wanted to raise money for the, Boys and Girls Club. I think during my Shaquille promotion, I think we raised $3 million. So, we do a lot of stuff. They have something called the Papadilla. They got the cheeseburger pizza. So they're actually doing a great job. Every company that I've been involved in has had to find ways. And the good thing about my father told me what makes people great is how quickly they adjust. And everybody's had to make an adjustment during these times, and hopefully times get back to normal. But while they are the way they are now, everyone just has to adjust.
It's true. Building off of that amazing $3 million you were just talking about, there's a quote I like, that we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. That's Winston Churchill. And how do you think about that relationship of, in the business world of giving and getting?
I always try to give just to brighten up a person's day. Like, to me, there's no rhyme and reason for giving. This is just why I give. It's a lot of, it hurts my heart to wake up 4 months ago and see and then say 40 million people are out of work. That hurts my heart. It really does. So whenever I see a place where I can help brighten a person's day, I'm always there. And for me, that's it. It's just as simple as that. The other day I was in Best Buy. There was a mom and a little girl, and the mom was looking at a cheap computer because her daughter had to borrow her friend's computer, and it was a cheap one. And I just went up to her and said, "Get this one." And the mom looked. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Get two. Get one for yourself too." And then I had to explain to the little girl, "Listen, sweetheart, my name is Uncle Shaq. I'm cool, but I don't want you taking stuff from strangers, okay?" She's like, but, the fact that they were, and listen, the mom and her daughter, that was my mom and my sister. That was my mom and me, trying to provide for us, but not really having the funds to get really what we need, but just trying to get something similar. So she was looking at a computer. It was, I don't want to, put it this way, it wasn't a Mac. Just put it that way.
It was not
It
a
was like
Mac.
it was like really cheap and it was old school. And I was like, and I was in there buying something and I couldn't walk out without taking care of this young lady. And I mean, because I know she needed it. I mean, because I was walking by and the mom was like, well, I know you need something better for school, but I'm going to get you this and this is all I can afford. And I was like, you know what, I'll take care of it. Mom gave me a hug and she started crying. She said, oh my God, thank you very much. But, when it comes to giving, I just like to brighten people's day.
You can learn a lot about hard work meeting a single mom. Certainly where I got a lot of my work ethic.
Yeah.
One thing I came into this time with you super curious to hear more about is what motivates you? A lot of people on my team, when I was going to have this opportunity, they said, wow, like, God, it's amazing he does all that. He clearly doesn't have to. What motivates you to, do so much? Your days must be packed.
What motivates me now is that I'm in a position to show other people, my children, show other kids. I like to say to myself, I am that portal that a kid that grew up in similar situations from me can look at me and say, if he did it, I can do it. Because my portal was Dr. J and Magic Johnson. When I was a terrible basketball player, I saw a movie that Dr. J did. I was like, if he did it, I can do it. When I first came into the league and was learning about business, Magic Johnson was the one that pulled me to the side and said, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. I want to be the portal for young kids, especially African-American kids that say, you know what? If he did it, they can do it. Because I tell kids all the time, I wasn't the kid in the classroom that got all A's. I wasn't the kid in the classroom that was well liked. I wasn't the kid in the classroom that was the best athlete in the world. But through hard work and perseverance and listening to my parents and following my dreams, anything is possible. So that's what motivates me. I have 6 children, but I know that all the other kids in the world look up to me. So I want to be the prime example of what it takes to, become successful / super successful.
And going back to Magic Johnson, what did he tell you? Because he's one of the first people. You and I were talking about this. I remember when I was a kid growing up in DC. Athletes getting into business was lending their name to a car dealership or a steakhouse. And now you see, and I think Magic Johnson might be the first one I remember as a kid. I remember him getting into the movie business, literally like movie theaters, and if my memory serves. And now it's like you have actors who are going into venture capital. You have athletes getting serious about investment banking. What's the pull? Why would somebody that's famous and has everything want to be a businessman or a businesswoman?
Well, Magic, the first thing he said to me is that it's okay to be famous. At some point, you want to start owning things, because in our line of work, it doesn't last forever. See, it's. I had a guy one time. He said, "You ever see the richest people in the world are athletes?" I said, "No." He said, "Think about that. What I just asked you." So, the stuff we do is a fad. The average life of an NBA guy is 4 to 7 years, right? And you got some superstars that go, 10, 12, 15, all that. But after that, you still have to have some stuff to do. And, a lot of times, especially 60% of professional athletes, when they're done, they have nothing. So,
Wow.
for me, is I didn't want to be part of that stat. 2, I wanted to take advantage of opportunities. 3, I wanted to lead for my children. And 4, I wanted to lead for people that's looking up to me. That's why I got into business, because I don't, my mother and father instilled in me, hey, go to school, educate yourself, get your degrees. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. Learn. And by watching and learning and listening, the way I learned business was I bought a book. It was The Dummy's Guide to Starting Your Own Business. That's what I
A
did.
very successful series, huh?
Yeah, so I read that book. I asked questions, started my own business, trials and tribulations, a lot of failures. Every time I met somebody that was more successful than me, had a conversation. My first big conversation with a super successful CEO was a guy by the name of Roger Enrico. He was the CEO of Pepsi. I had a Pepsi deal, and he lived around the corner, and we used to talk all the time. He used to tell me this and tell me that, and, joint ventureship, subchapter S corporation, like, EBITDA, all that stuff. And that was my education. Then when I went back and got my degree, then I got a master's in business. I already had a little bit of education, but then when I got my master's from University of Phoenix, then I really added the finishing touches to it. But no, I think a lot of people are becoming business owners because, they want to have different legacies. They want to provide for their families, and they want to continue, the lifestyle that they live. For me, I just want to be able to take care of my family forever.
Yeah, that's a motivating thing for sure. One thing that you have a reputation for, that is very unique, is that you only go into businesses, even brand sponsorships like Amex or Pepsi, like you're talking about with Roger and Rico, when you really believe in the product. What does that mean to you? What does it mean for Shaquille to really believe in somebody's product or service?
It means I have to be familiar with your product. It means I have to have tried your product. I always tell the story that when I won my first championship, Wheaties contacted my office and said, "We want to put you on the cover." And I respectfully declined. It's like, no disrespect, but never had Wheaties, don't know what it tastes like. We couldn't afford it where I came from. So I told my people, contact Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, or Fruity Pebbles.
If my kids were on this right now, you'd even be more their hero.
I told them, I said, I want to do something different. So finally, after 30 years, I finally got my deal with Frosted Flakes. It's one of my biggest deals ever. I was on the cover, I think, of Fruit Loops. I think they put me on like 13 million boxes as, like a, charity thing. But I am an old school, respectful businessman. I cannot take your money and promote your product if I don't believe in it. I will not do it. I won't do it.
Well, and I think there's a great lesson there too, because being in business with somebody like you, and no matter how big or small our businesses are, partnerships are key. I mean, it can be as simple as a partnership of let's share email lists and double up our databases that we can tell people about our companies. You sell writing paper and I sell sneakers. We're not competing, but we're going after similar people, all the way up through bigger brand partnerships. If you like each other, if you believe in the products, it's a lot easier to really go in with your whole heart and do a great job. And I think that comes across. I think that comes across. I was kind of kidding about seeing you every commercial break, but when I do see you, it feels legit, and that's a big deal. If
Thank
you
you.
if you had a young guy, let's say like I don't know, 19-year-old NBA player. He's like, man, I love what you're doing. Like that's where I want to get to. Maybe he has all the talent in the world, the next big thing. But he's like, no. I want to learn from you about business. What would you tell him is really critical from a starting out place? What does that young player need to start doing or thinking differently?
First thing I tell him to is educate yourself. Now, when I say education, it's not all about getting a degree. For example, if I want to know anything about the industry that you're in, I'm gonna have a conversation with you. And when I say conversation, in-depth conversation, I'm gonna ask you everything that I need to know. So anything you need to know about business, whoever you think is successful, or whoever you think is doing something that you would like to do, have a conversation with them. Ask them how they started. And you can get tidbits of information that you can add to your portfolio, and you can create your own little strategy. So, first thing I learned was subchapter S corporation. First thing I learned, and start one up, set one up. First thing I learned is, hey, you don't want your money coming to you personally. Let it go to your corporation. You get better tax benefits. Oh, you do? Yeah, like, you got 3 people using cell phones. You can write that off. I was like, oh, for real? So, like, I didn't learn that in the book. I learned that from a gentleman who had a nice suit and a nice briefcase. And, so how do you do that? Oh, this is how you got to do it, Shaq. You got to set it up like that. And then, of course, I checked it out, make sure everything was legal. Everything was legal. First thing I'm telling these athletes is educate yourself. And what I mean by educate yourself, ask questions. Ask questions. It's okay. I love not knowing something, because now when I ask somebody who I think is an expert and they tell me, now you got two experts there, because I learned from an expert. You telling me, I'm memorizing it. So now I'm an expert on the situation.
Shaq, of all the industries that you're competing in right now, food, technology, fitness, esports, whatever else that's new on the horizon, um, where do you see the biggest upside? We've as a country been through a lot. Like, are there any sectors or industries that you're really excited about right now?
Esports is ceases to surprise me. I'm surprised. Like, I remember when I went to my first esports game, my son was like, "Dad, take me to the Staples Center." I was like, "For what?" He's like, "Esports, you don't understand." So my thing was, okay, I'm gonna drop him off at the Staples Center, go hang out, see some old friends, go see the Bus family, whatever. Anyway, when I pull up, it's like it's a game 7 in there. It's 100,000 kids in there. And I'm like, what is this? My son was like, "Dad, this is the future." And I was like, "This is the future, huh?" So I went and called some friends, and I said, "Hey, do we know anybody that's in the esports business?" And a friend of mine, Vivek Ed.D, was the owner of the Sacramento Kings. He has a partner that's in the esports. I called him up and said, "Hey, man, I want to be your partner. I want to help you." And we've been very, very successful. So, I think, COVID has halted things a little bit, but I think if anything's going to really pick up fast and continue to grow, definitely going to be esports.
Well, it's something for everybody to take away, and I'm sure not that many people know enough about esports. I certainly don't. So something for us to go learn about. And
Very interesting.
Shaquille, first off, thank you for being so generous with your time and so candid with your advice and your trip through the business world. It was great to hear your stories, and we really appreciate your time today. It's been
Brother.
well. Thank you very much.
Right.
And I just want to tell everybody in the audience, listen, thank you for tuning in. This has been great. For more office hours and business insights, please go to americanexpress.com/business class. My team put a ton of work into all the assets up there. A lot of great interviews like this, other good advice, whether you need to know about marketing or sales or finance, there's stuff for you there. And next Wednesday at 4 p.m., guess who we have coming in? Shaquille, could you guess? No, Venus Williams. Venus Williams will be here next week. So, so thank you all very much for tuning in. And Shaquille, have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.